spirit of matter. And today is the day. And so I said I'm going to do a Uranus algol talisman with the moon. And I woke up to a moon hour. I'm going to tell about this work. And it's going to be another one later today. Because the moon is not right where I wanted for the fifth lunar dimension, but I did use wisdom and the number 6 of the second lunar dimension. So let's talk about this talisman. So this talisman is not this election. I'm going to pull up the election where I started doing that. Here's my messy photos. No, but I want a screenshot, not my not so good looking photos. So yes, this is the one. Let me talk about the election. I also want to give you a little bit of the work with Uranus. This is my probably fourth or fifth time where I do incorporate Uranus, and probably even more for algol. Particularly for Uranus, this is the it just happened planet, okay? And because it is the it just happened planet, this is not the talisman where you want to stay rigid, okay? Right now, I've actually, for this month and for this progress of mine, I purchased a beautiful course by Karasi Atasio from the Lada Duncheva website about astrological magic Babylonian way. And this is such a good example to both give credit to the people that came before me and upon whose work I reliant, even if I change things tremendously. One of them is Lada Duncheva. And so another one would be, of course, Caitlin Kapak, without whom I wouldn't think about my aromatherapy work as something that I could do talismans with other than rocks. And of course, Christopher Warnock, who gave me the more light-hearted approach to algol, the less kind of Luciferian oriented, where algol could be incredibly dangerous because we harness algol, and upon which I base my own view on Beta Persei, although we have Uranus on Beta Persei, which means we're gonna have a lot of eurekas. So with the Babylonian process, you fast for I think a week or 10 days before, and there are very meticulous regimens when you collect the herbs and so on. For Uranus talismans, is what I noticed. I'm not saying you can't do it Babylonian. It is a planet of the it just happened. With Uranus, I set intention. I ask Uranus, I want to do this talisman. Of course, I ask all the planets, but the wisdoms that I will receive, the energy that I will receive, and the timing and everything, it will be decided upon, and in a very eureka way, unconventional way. This is where you want to allow things in the process to affect the process the most of the planets which I've seen. Maybe perhaps Neptune could give you more of a surrender type, but with Uranus is not the type of surrender so much as to allow things to be. Uranus, you don't want to resist it as much. You want to set intention, you want to leave it at that. This is an election with a decreasing moon, so I'm aiming towards purifying, shielding, decreasing effect of certain things. It doesn't mean I don't put things that I want, okay, like true fulfillment, good work and rest balance, happy creation. It's very compatible with where the moon is, which is the second lunar dimension, which is the second decan of Taurus. And so it's interesting, just as we speak, I receive the notification is very early on about what my bank account is. I'm curious, I'm actually going to look at that with you, because I did a lot of shopping yesterday. And it's a decreasing moon election, It's also an election of, oh, surprised. Thought it's going to be worse. But still wait for tomorrow. And I'm going to tell you later why did I look about this with you. Uranus, first of all, is governing transparency. So we talk about financial, when we talk about our investments. So this is a good thing to manifest with this one. I prepared the intention, okay, for this talisman as to purify us from the effects of all these digital technologies, whether how they affect our art and our creative process, our life work balance, but also shielding from fraud, shielding from the type of fraud that is government oriented or organized crime oriented, and so on. So that's another thing I use this uranus algol for, to shield people during the times of upheaval. I guess one of the intentions here to shield people during the time of upheaval, where we have unsafe situations, and this is where our relational pattern can be more volatile. So this is where I did a relational release of the patterns and people within us, okay, patterns also within us, that are not truly nourishing, okay? So it's a release, but I did add like rose essential oil. I'm going to talk about what I put in there later. So release of that which is not truly nourishing, which is not truly loving, but also when something has done its course, okay, then to release, okay, to let go, not to stay in kind of like Plutonian obsession with Uranus applying to trine Pluto. Pluto, I did not include Pluto and Neptune because the retrograde and sextile Neptune, this is a great time to release obsessions, to release addictions. In a eureka way, you're protected, you're shielded. And so that was another of the intention. I woke up today. Yesterday I got me a Moldavite finally, and also there was kyanite, which I put orange kyanite. And so what happened with the Moldavite, which should be even a separate video, but I was wearing it while I'm doing the talisman, is Moldavite releases you from stagnant things. And then I put the Moldavite together with the kyanite, with the orange kyanite, that had me releasing certain patterns, certain energies. It caused these energies to show for the sides that I was not so willing to look at. Okay, and here it is important for us to own ourselves here. It's not to blame for the other person, because other person, they show us many times, okay? There are relationships, people do lover boy, finessing, love bombing, but else, sometimes people just show us, this is who I am, these are my demons, this is what I did in my past, this is still accompanying me. And there's a way you perceive that. The Moldavite is going to show you, darling, this is the energy. Okay, those are the things that come out with this energy over this person, so that we can release. Okay, for release of patterns, and it's also good to send to send good energy as much as somebody receives. So to release without also the anger, without grudges, and to release the effects of anyways these energies would try consciously or unconsciously to finesse us in a way that is malefic towards our sexual energy, our livelihood, our creativity. And you have to understand, many times these energies are triggering creativity, okay, especially if it's a Uranian cycle. But to release of all the negativities, of all the violence, and to release that not only with the other person, we're not here to heal the other person, but to release this within ourselves, all the places where, because of malnourishment emotionally, because of upheaval of the times, or just because we're excited, we look away, or we look upon, or we participate in certain dynamics that are not correct for us, and also for our own patterns, okay, that can kind of be co-creative, okay? We all have all kinds of shadows within that we are more or less conscious. This is a great time to release for these. Moon in Taurus, of course, I always bring in, start with Selene, invocation of Selene. And Moon in Taurus is very compatible for us to be well nourished, well housed, okay, for all the needs, during even safe, to be safe and free, even when there are upheavals outside, because these upheavals, they bring in the best, okay. I'm going to give extreme example. After Second World War, women got right to vote, their own bank account, and they began to be owners of property more so than before. It was not easy process, not just two generations of men died, and of course women did not suffer, okay, it was war, horrible times. But this was also, they had to release the patterns where they were used to one way of life. Okay, man brings out the money, man knows the business, and then men say, what do you need to vote? I make all the decision in the house. If you don't understand what I do, why do you want to interfere in this in a way that can be malefic to me and even to you? Because I do this for years. Now women began to do this themselves, and they began to see, for example, in Britain, one story that I learned when I studied politics is women first voted left so that they will have right to vote. After they got right to vote, they voted Conservative Party, and they asked Conservative Party, will you change the right of women to vote? They said, no, we Conservative Party, we stay with the tradition. If they change that, we're not going to change it back. And this is why women voted for the Conservative, because now that we made a change, we want to preserve. Okay, so when times we want to have change, we usually go left. Times when we want to preserve, we go right. Okay, this also, this used to be true. Right now, it's changed a bit. We are also at the time of Pluto and Aquarius, that require us to divorce the reset, to reclaim our own reset, okay? To make our decisions for ourselves. And so this is time where people get more interested in politics, in science, and I give credit also to Lada Duncheva for talking about Pluto and Aquarius. This is a time where people begin to ask questions and remove cults. And so the Uranus algol in here and the Beta Persei, which is now in her fortunate day. Beta Persei is actually releasing from the eclipse, so she's in her most fortunate. She's shining, okay? Not in the decay, the decreasing, but shining, very, very abundant. And I use for this abundant in spirit and in matter, and this is why I will make another talisman today with 5th lunar mansion. And this big abundance is where Uranus algol, okay, Beta Persei, gives us shielding. And this talisman is something I will have to consult, because I used energy of energy worker. Then she makes, I'm gonna show you this on YouTube. She actually makes, yes, I think I can see it. Her channel is Kopakonans Ciorna Frei. Okay, I'm gonna just put it, and she said made Goddess Medusa activation. So I will not offer anything here for sale before I consult this person if they give me permission, and what the dividends they want, of course. But this was activation that I used for Medusa, which is very strong, very powerful, for protection, for shielding, okay, and it's very protective also over our sexual energy, our businesses, our creative energy. And so back to the election, we really have covered all the decans of Taurus. So the first decan with the degree 7, which is also degree, according to Nikola Stojanovich's degree of luxury. I wasn't aiming for that, but of course the number 7 is accompanying me. Okay, I've worked with Al-Qaeda, but also it's a karmic number, but it's also the note justice, luxury, so the good things in life, which is important. And this is in the first decan of Taurus, usually decan that not associated with abundance, okay, but with magic is actually very benefic. So this is for luxurious things. The second is success, true success, and I use the number 6 as well. which is associated with this deacon, and this is success, which is the happy success. Okay, the result of good work and rest balance, not work-life balance, work and rest balance. Because even when you travel, you're active and then you're resting, and this is a secret for to have a happy creation, happy success, happy fulfillment, and to let go of those who don't want to see you there. Let go of all of those who don't want to see you being successful, happy, joyous, and all the intricacies involved with that. To let go, to release that. Okay, also release patterns within you. Okay, we're not able to truly be joyous, truly be appreciative of somebody's success. Then it is also for to release these patterns inside. Okay, so we are used to succeeding and enjoying life and surrounding ourselves with those who enjoy it with us, and so to let go of that which isn't the case. Just let go of these. Okay, and so then we have, of course, Uranus with the lot of fortune on Uranus. When I began, the lot of fortune was on Uranus on Beta Persei. So lot of fortune is something fated, very likely fated for me to do this talisman, fated for me to include of what I included. Okay, also the relational pattern, the emotional release, the emotional shielding, that of emotional shielding of our success as well. Okay, and it turns to the emotions. Okay, with this moon in Taurus, it turns to the emotions as well, but also to matter and spirit. And this is very fated talisman. Okay, when you see the lot of fortune exactly where I wanted the point to be. Okay, 26 Taurus, Beta Persei, Uranus, fated success. Fated success, fated fortune. A lot of fortune in itself does not mean good or bad, but this is for protection. Okay, if you have a lot of fortune around Beta Persei, then very likely you would want a piece of this energy, but it would take months for me to understand, okay, what the talisman does, it's my intention, and what the talisman does and how to work with it. And of course to consult with whom I need to consult if I ever want to sell of this. And this is decision you make, okay? For yourself, for your use, you can use whatever video, whatever it is that you are inspired by. But when we are making business, we want to make sure everybody gets dividends, everybody consents willingly. And so that is important, okay? This one's small collection for me. But for more commercial work, I would consult with the artist. And it's good to have conjoining. This is 10th house. So this talks about relationships with our parents, us as authority figure, our image. Oh, I haven't included that actually. But also to protect our image, whether from defamation. But it's, again, all such protection must be true and honest. Okay, it's to truly align with, take accountability for what you need, and then allow things to be okay, to be working in your favor. Moon is ruling the 12th house, so this is important in this one. Okay, of course we have the moon in the 10th in Taurus, is exalted, but it's also important it rules the 12th house, so we bring in the nourishment and the rest, and a lot of what usually is hidden, including enemies, is showing up here in the 10th, but also for to shield from those hidden enemies, or those people who try to finesse you emotionally in your career, in your public image, and so on and so forth. That would be appropriate for that. Sun is in the 12th house Placidus, but is in the first house whole sign, and this is a consideration. Okay, I didn't get the Sun to be in the first house, but Venus here, that is squaring this moon, which is the ruler of this combination, is in the first house in Leo. She's strong in Leo. Okay, as Gracia Tassio says, the Venus, her card, where we see Venus, she's sitting on a lion. and so she tames the lion. So this is appropriate. And whole sign, the sun is still in the first house, which is again appropriate. This is where you are the face of your product, or you are the face of your brand. But it's also, you think about parental relations, so to release any issues or dynamics with our parents that may afflict our career, our success in life, our reputation, our image. And of course, to have career that we want is very compatible for career in astrology. Astrological magic here with the moon is very fated. You see this talisman with degree 7, very fated for me to do this. Decreasing moon, like I said, shielding 10th house. Okay, so astrologers, scientists, innovators, people who do financial platforms, like all of these things. If you look at the videos from the past week, you see what I got. There are people who are revolutionaries in favor of, okay, algol related people, so will and consent and so on. That would be correct to work with. We do have, okay, for the touches, the moon touches Venus in a square. Okay, so this is a very manifesting aspect. It is something that we pay attention, that we are nourished, that this moon is nourished, and Venus likes to be seen. Okay, this is also why I find myself making a vlog about this. Okay, she likes to be seen. She's romantic, she's luxurious, she's open-hearted, she wants to be allowed to be vulnerable. This is very important, safe and free, also with open heart. So that is why this is a relational. Very good. I made honey. Now with the honey, it's very interesting. It was not the full honey. Usually we make the full, but this is for when we want to see, even when the situation is not perfect. So this is very good actually for people who want to sweeten the process of divorcing something, separating from something, releasing something, or releasing karma, okay, burning karma. For Uranus, it was actually a mantra that, okay, I'm going to show you this also on YouTube. Okay, so that's the invocation for Selene, Orphic hymn for Selene, which you can find. Then there is the Uranus mantra. And I was like, oh, what is this Uranus mantra? Apparently it was an Indian mantra for genius, originality, foresight, and enlightenment. And this is Om Hram Prajapataye Namaha. So I did not know that Indians have hymn mantras for Uranus, because I was thinking, look at this, Victor, Mercury retrograde, work and life balance, 4 hours ago. Looking good. Yeah, you want to check that video, I for sure will. So here is a reference to another astrologer that whose work I like. And so work-life balance, you see the synchronicities. Astrologer, it makes video about work-life balance, shown in my feed as I'm making for this talisman. And yes, where we're still for Uranus, I was wanting to invoke the god Anu, which is the sky god, and I refer to the sky god with Uranus algol a lot, but I forgot, and I got an Indian mantra. So this is how Uranus would work. It's like, yes, but now this is more appropriate perhaps for my 5th lunar mention. Uranus talismans, I will invoke Anu. And so that is, but this is also appropriate. I'll tell you why. Because sidereally, this moon is in Aries. And we invoke Anu for the sidereal chart. So when the moon will be very close to Uranus, if I get to the talisman, I can invoke Anu, because I will invoke this god of the sky. Okay, this is a bit of a wide orb here, but it's sufficient orb, okay, for to bring in the energies. But because the moon, we want him in Taurus sidereally when we invoke Anu, then we make sidereal talisman as well later today. And this is also why I'm making 2. Okay, set intention to invoke a nu and to make 2 talismans is not appropriate as per the Crassiatasio traditional method, but it will be when the moon is in sidereal Taurus, then it's appropriate to invoke a nu. I will have less time. And I'm planning to do some oil for this combination. So this is the god of the sky, and it's going to be with 5th lunar mention and all the good things that's giving more mind and body alignment. Okay, here it's not 5th lunar mention. There is the mind-body alignment for Uranus and algol, but this is particularly of the 2nd, okay, where we want to release that which is not on the line of true success. Okay, the 1st decan of Taurus is a big abundance, then a big success, and then luckiest of lucky. Okay, the 3rd, which is the 5th lunar mention, magically. Okay, because the decans themselves, the 1st one is too much worry, bring in lack, and the then success, true success, and then I don't remember what, but this was also kind of not so. If you want to be in a good place in the middle, so to have true success. I have Sun in Taurus, so although my Sun is badly aspected, I did experience success that is fulfilling for me and that I get to see myself successful. So albeit my bad aspect to the Sun from Saturn, I'm not a bad talisman for success. So especially on the creative, okay, people that thought, oh, I think sometimes, okay, because of the Saturn, oh, and how will I have, money for my creation? So, and only to find out that only with my creation I make money, or how will I have this success or that success to do with creative projects, and then actually attractor for opportunities. So I still have fears of crisis to heal in me, which was one of my great abundance blocks that I tend to release. So this is for this kind of 10th house, 1st house. Sun also is creative performance. Okay, good for musicians, especially when you want to work with AI. Okay, not to have technology working against you, or not to work against it, work with technology, but in a way that is gratifying, of willing consent, of your rights, of your happiness. And this is also good for fertility related issues, just because of all these combinations in Taurus. Moon in Taurus, nourished, housed, and so on. This is what I have to say about this. Uranus and lot of fortune are also applying to, Mercury is separated from a square to this Uranus. So we're still in the throne of Mercury-Uranus square. Okay, and this is important to keep in mind with this talisman. Okay, you might want to, although Mercury is very strong, but it is in shade period. Although in the 2nd house you might profit off of words, but it's important to remember that words you would have to remedy the verbal aspects. Okay, so maybe you want to work with a Saraswati talisman if you work with such a thing, and so on. Now let's take a look at what did I do for the talisman. So there's my honey, and with Uranus I just took the honey. Okay, it's not that there was not too much time to prepare only, but also the budget. Had to work within budget. I had to buy myself new shoes because my shoes were no longer walkable. Those Birkenstocks do not hold that long. I tried, and there was a war in between. But they're very good, but they're not going to hold you, and they can't fix them. So what I would put in the talisman itself are the oils. I talk about essential oils for internal consumption on another video, but I will say it again. When I studied aromatherapy, there are the French method, the British method. Some British guy was prescribed to take 1 drop of essential oil with a spoonful of vegetable oil. The guy took 1 spoonful of essential oil. He's no longer with us, Ever since then, people say it's horrible, it's terrible, you can't consume essential oil. Bullshit. Okay, just don't take one spoonful of it and you'll be okay. And good dilution. Here I have, you make, okay, it's not supposed to be more than 1%. And here is pretty much okay. I'm pretty safe with this amount of honey that I have. So first is lavender. Great. I was surprised that Krasi associated lavender with the moon because it's calming. I was thinking about this more as Mercury. But this is very appropriate, okay? Lavender, moon in Taurus, to open up heart chakra. And I noticed that it does connect me with what I truly want from my heart, okay? So it's connecting with love that is unconditional. And then we had the mandarin. And what I love about mandarin is sex chakra, throat chakra, second chakra, and fifth chakra. And this is great for taking action. It's also great for children, okay? Great for children, for taking action. It's a strong scent, a bit warming, I find it, and to get out of stagnation, which is what Uranus brings anyway. So calming. Myrtle is usually great for new beginnings, but here is for the purification and for the balancing. It's a very tender oil, and it's for purification, for balancing our nervous system, which we need. Okay, lavender and so on. We need to calm our nervous system, especially with Uranus. We are calling on the Silhouette in the sky. Okay, the Silhouette of the sky. Planet George, the revolutionary. It spikes up our nervous system, but both the moon in Taurus and for these oils, they help to relax the nervous system, to accept the change and the eurekas that come with it. This is bitter orange. Bitter orange you do not use on the skin undiluted. Okay, you need good percentage of dilution. Not more than 1.5% I would see. Then if you have the exact percentage, use whatever you have. Bitter orange releases anger. Releases anger, and it opens pathways to abundance. So it's a great toner for the nervous system, for the sexual energy, for the heart. Great abundance oil, wonderful for peace. Okay, so this is allowing peace to reside. And helichrysum are expensive, folks. Helichrysum is for to release traumas, but it's a great tonifier both of the skin and of our nervous system in general. Okay, it's basically called in Hebrew Chayad, which is the everlasting. Okay, infinite, and infinite is also associated with Uranus, the infinite energy of infinity. So these are the oils I put for inside, okay, which you consume, and outside, not okay. Oils with solvents: rose, jasmine, benzoin. Okay, it sounds like a curse, but it's basically the vanillin resin. Okay, those also do not put inside because they contain wax, and remnants of wax, and we don't want that. So this is rose essential oil that I put only on top, okay, of what the crystals, on top of my little stickers that I made. And I always, okay, for the products I made, of course, some 2-3 rocks that are going to be used. One for shielding protection, the other one's more for happy success, kind of more lunar. And you see the color of the rocks will affect things. And I consecrated some geranium herbs, which is very kind of mothering, nourishing, tonifying. And you'd be surprised. A bounty snack, which I put in the freezer before that, and I was going to the freezer after that. And the bounty snack is kind of like the sweet, if you want to talk about your nourishment. So the balance between those green foods, okay, the green stuff, and the chocolates, the snacks, also good for the production, okay, for the people who work in the production, factories and so on. Have my grandmother that loved her job but lost her 2 feet for a job in a chocolatier, basically. It was not called that way because nobody used fancy titles for, just working class. But that was what she did. She was one day not in the office, nobody, not in office, it was on her feet, but nobody knew what is the good recipe. Okay, so this is great for when we want to have the sweetness and the nourishment also balanced. Okay, again, emotionals also for the emotional eating and so on. And I made some stickers, and the stickers is a very simple thing to make, and it's very useful. But the stickers is where they're not always long lasting, depending on what you stick them on. If you stick them on your phone and stuff like that. But this is something that you would want to stick with, or your notebook where you write notes, or in the office, or any place that is kind of work related or related to this talisman or happy creation. And so stickers, I find that I always like to have them, and usually always useful. Okay, for the rocks I can put it here, I can put it there, but usually very, very useful. Moon day, moon hour. Okay, moon day, moon hour. So very lunar, very emotional, very nourishment focused. Put some money that I had there, and enjoy finishing up with a snack for that coconut bounty, right? So as for other considerations, yes, we have Mars in the 11th. It's ruler of the 9th in the 11th, ruler of Rahu. Venus is ruling Ketu and Lilith in the first house. So it's nothing touches upon Mars particularly. It's not Mars hour. Okay, I've managed to take the Mars out a bit because I had other elections where Mars was ruling the ascendant and then was kind of falling into the 8th house, which was annoying. But it is a Mars in Gemini. It is in the 11th house. It's gonna pop. So if you're working, prepare for that. Jupiter in the 11th also, on the other hand. Okay. And that will be a day chart. So sun above horizon, Mars is more malefic. Potential risk for accidents or fights with your colleagues, social groups. Okay, it's not well, it's just there. Okay, it's in the chart. It's not something that I called on the energy, but I want you to understand that Mars here is the more malefic, and it is in a pretty public house. But then we have Jupiter in Gemini. Mercury in the 2nd house might mean that you might gain from these fights. Okay, so if you can, for example, good marketing strategy might be, okay, I'm setting myself apart from da 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 da. This is my unique, because Mars is also your identity, value, but you might have to redo your phrasing as to how you say that. So that's it. Now we're going to look for the second edition. And let's see. This is Saturn hour. Now there is a Jupiter hour coming that I was beginning to look at. And this was very likely the original election, because although everything is Mercury ruled and Mars is so close to the midheaven, which is an issue. Okay, it is an issue. Okay, this is still, we're gonna put it on 5 minutes. Then we're good. Oh, can we get closer to Mars? No, still. Huh, maybe. This is Jupiter hour. So first of all, immediately we see considerations that Moon is not on the fifth lunar dimension yet. That's 8. On the other hand, this is the ninth house, teaching, international travel, um, belief. Okay, last talisman I made with the fifth lunar dimension, it was also in the ninth house. That being said, this is giving Mars midheaven in a day chart. So this is where I want the at least to have the midheaven separating. So let's give it a couple. This is right on Mars. Then I give it a couple of more minutes, and I want it to get closer to Jupiter, Aldebaran. But I have ascendant 11 degree. What did we say about 11 degrees? Suicide. Don't want anybody to kill themselves. Again, you will see I have talismans of everybody that have the 11th degree, the 18th degree. 18th degree in Aries is considered exaltation of the sun. Okay, so I don't want you to get overly concerned with this. But this is what I do want you to pay attention. If you are like me, you're working with these degrees, and you can not have them in a talisman, it's okay, unless you're making on purpose a talisman for, let's say, the 22nd degree. I haven't done this. I may or may not do it, I don't know. So this is another thing. We're gonna have, this is Jupiter day, but this is given only half an hour. What I like is that we have midheaven on Aldebaran. Mercury is in 12th house, Placidus first house, a whole sign. No horrid degree out there. 21 degree, yes, but it's not on the minute of the fifth lunar dimension yet. So if I begin here, it's not the fifth lunar dimension. This is important. But I also am not necessarily calling on Aldebaran with this one. Or maybe I am. I don't know. There's no planet sitting on Aldebaran, but having the midheaven can allow me to call for Archangel Michael and Aldebaran. And this would be a Mercury in its shade period. So it's not, it's a Mercury in Virgo, but it is in its shade period. It's going to go over this, at least, it's going to go over this twice, okay? Retrograde and forward. So this is where a lot of editing will have to be done, even if there is a win here. I do like the proximity to Jupiter. Okay, and this is a day chart, so Jupiter is the great benefic. I don't like Venus in the 12th house. She's the ruler of this composition. So those are the considerations. It's a good 9th house, but because Venus is not in Cancer anymore, or not in Taurus, then this will not be so good to make talisman. Now let's jump in, because I was thinking to go for it, but it's like too many considerations. Mercury is not where I wanted to be to call for Aldebaran, to add Aldebaran into this, and Venus is in the 12th house. Now, what can you do if you do want Venus in the 12th house? I saw great Venus in the 12th house talismans for Christopher Warnock to protect from hidden enemies and ailments. So what can you do if I want, let's say, to have this election? I might do election for, if you have to travel for business, you will have protection, because Venus is strong, from hidden enemies, from finessing, from lover boys. From lover boy is when they try to recruit someone to human trafficking, okay? That have affair, and so some very known in Netherlands. But we have to keep in mind the sun is also in the 12th house. So if I had only Venus here, I could say, oh, let's do it. But because sun is also in the 12th house, and it's a luminary, and this is no 12th house Placid, this is 12th house, 12th house. So I don't, she does sextile Mars, it's beautiful, but it's not exactly what I would prefer for an election. So I'm going to have to skip this one, because there's really very little I can do with that. So Now, I'm not getting the ninth house as I wanted to, and I wanted to, but I'm not getting it. So now we see what happened with Venus hour, because with Venus hour we got them in the 8th house. And as much as I want to make 2, and this is where, even if we move the moon around from like the 22nd degree, she's going to immediately do. Okay, one does not get. Okay, lessons from people who may have the moon, not me, and 22 degree. That can make for, the moon is fast traveling, so that can make for, if you are in assassination risk, for death threats that are consistent. So, okay, so I do not make the moon on 22nd degree. Again, I have colleagues that did that. They're not calling for the moon, not on the moon, I guess. I don't think I've seen the moon there, but they're not working with the Greek theory. They're calling for other energies. Okay, I have talismans with those degrees sitting in okay, that I use. For me, it's not necessarily astrological consideration for to make a talisman. Not only that, if you make talisman of the 22nd degree, which I haven't done, you might even get direct remediation for that. But this is risk, life risk. It's not that I haven't touched on life risk. The first talisman that I ever made was with algol, but that's something to consider. So here we have still a Venus hour, but this is still in the 8th house. The ascendant is with Spica, but the midheaven is opposing Pluto, which again is not traditional considerations, not a traditional by definition. Then I would then look what happens, because this is, if I put this guy, okay, for Uranus in the 7th house, then I got Mars in the 8th house. But if I put this in the 8th house, I get the moon in the 8th house, which is not preferred. And I only have so much time. Okay, so this is already 1 degree Scorpio, ascendant on my Pluto. That's another consideration for me, the talisman maker. And then I have to remove this vertex 22 from my life. And so that Venus. Now, I don't have big problem for this to continue into Mercury hour. I begin it at Venus hour. This is another thing for astrological magic. Granted that you're not going to have like a Saturn there, or Mars, or some angry planet, then it's okay to begin on a Venus hour and let it, go Mercury or go Moon. I have it in the 7th house, so this is excellent for purging relationships, enmities, finessing, financial finessing, sexual finessing, all of the above. Could be that in the 8th house that could do it too. I'm not going to F with that. Okay? And that would put Mars in the 9th house when it's a day chart. Like, why? Midheaven is right on the Sun, 5 degrees. 5 degrees of is a Leo degree. And it's not particularly pinpointed, but because it's the midheaven, it's going to be making a note. And the ascendant is Mars ruled, with Mars in the 8th house. This is why I'm so happy that I made the election I made. This is why I'm so happy that I already made a talisman today. Okay? Because I do get the 5th lunar mansion. But Mars, okay, is in the 8th house. And this is a day chart. Okay, so this is where we can get into fights, we can get into arguments, we can get into conflicts. around intergenerational drama, around wealth, around life insurance, around all these things that I'm making this talisman for. So, and Jupiter is going to make it big drama. So this is what my big concern is. And not only that, this Mars is in sextile with the Sun. Okay, so there's some authority figure. There's not the ascendant that's working with the ascendant. So this is where you could have career to do with finances. Mercury in the 11th house. Albeit my considerations, I might take this. Venus is in the 11th house. Okay, the moon is releasing from the sextile, from the square to Venus. This is 5th lunar mansion, and I might take this because it's not necessarily an easy talisman to work with. I'm not gonna make like oil and that and all the lovely things that I wanted. Okay, this is a 5th lunar, 5th mansion, lunar mansion. Yes, I'm definitely gonna call on 5th lunar mansion for this. For the ascendant, gonna have to think how it works with your chart. Whose Sun in Leo in the 10th house works well with Mars, and both are 5 degrees. So this is a very royal Mars in the field of trade. But you could, for example, receive financial. No, it is you giving, because this is the ascendant giving financial fights or lawsuits. Okay, and I don't have speaker here, so I can't apply to speaker. There's a 6th September election for speaker, and I think Hell was Astro for a pre-order, because that's how I got to know about this election. I do like the place of Venus. I do like the degree of the midheaven. Because this is magic, okay, then, and because we're setting it to be countering financial finessing, that can be appropriate. Now, the Sun in the 10th house is performer, is influencer, that's given perhaps financial advice even with astrology. So this is to all my astrology platform people. But Mars is also malefic out of sect, okay? So, but Mars is also ruling ascendant. So there is a lot of contradicting considerations. We don't like Mars in this house, okay? 6th house, 12th house, 8th house we usually don't like. And Mars is also ruling the 6th house, which has Chiron in it and Aries. I think that this election is kind of doomed. It's like I want it very much, but I think I'll have to, kind of skip, because those are going to be big issues of the 8, and they're not addressed in the talisman. Okay, Venus is ruled by the Sun, and the ascendant is ruled by this Mars. So even though it's a moon day, and the ruler of the 9th in the 7th, so there can be some partnership, but this Mars is very strong. It's royal and is working with the Sun and with the midheaven, but it's the malefic sect. So some people would say, come on, you're missing a good election. Maybe they are right, but I just, and Mars is in Gemini. The Mars is in Gemini, which means that it's fast Mars, it's arguments Mars, it's too much Mars. So I can't possibly take this Mars and take this ascendant, although it's not the hour, not the day. It's not fair for me to do this, especially not if I want to make anything of this commercial anytime. So this Mars will stay in the 8th house for quite a while, and I don't want Moon and Uranus in the 6th house. Should just keep going where it's in the 5th. Now I got Mars. Now this is interesting because this is still a day chart, and Mars is fine in the 6th. But then I got Venus. This is Mars hour. But we are entering the territory where Venus is. Yes, let's take a look. Let's take it a couple of minutes ago. That would mean we are in Mars hour. Maybe something with Jupiter. 0 degree. And we say the beginning is important. But I have only 8 minutes, and this Jupiter is in the 6th, which is a no-no. And Venus is already on the 22nd degree. So I got what I could. I don't have 5th lunar mansion right now for this Mondays, as it seems. But let's try later. Let's try if I have another moon hour today. Now this is the moon where I want it to be. And then this is the moon where I want it to be in terms of Uranus. But I might have a 5th lunar mansion moon. Let's see. And if I haven't accentuated on the 22nd degree enough, then Venus is coming to help me. She will be on the 22nd degree for the entire time. So even when I go moon-wise, she's still going to do that. Okay, so this is 4th house. And Venus is only beginning her 22nd degree journey. Let's see if I still have for the next day, for tomorrow, because Venus is going to be. Yeah, so we had moon hour. Okay, I like what I said, but the Saturn hour, which is impossible, and then I have Jupiter hour. Now this is 4th house. But the moon, I'm gonna have Moon Aldebaran, but it's too close to Mars. You don't want Moon and the malefics conjoining. You can correlate for that if you do it for you with 5th lunar mansion. I have noticed that I did talisman with the moon was just releasing from Saturn, Sati, but it's releasing aspect, and then I corrected it with 5th lunar mansion. I just added to the talisman 5th lunar mansion talisman when I use it, and it's okay. But I don't know if I would. And then no, this is one day. Then let's take it a couple of hours backwards. Okay. No, the moon is Aldebaran. Moon is on Aldebaran. Moon is Gemini. Gemini shade. The Venus doesn't matter here now. And it's too close to Mars. Then this is the most we get, and this is right on Mars, with Venus out of her 22nd degree. Here she's still in the 22nd degree. 11-11. But the moon is on Mars. We do, as Austin Kopek says, we do not do Mars in Gemini talismans. We do not capture this election. Okay, Mars is fast and furious. Gemini is childish and quick. So you can join these two. It's plenty of accidents. And plenty of sharp words that later would be difficult, if not impossible, to take back. I don't have another 5th lunar mansion talisman this month. I love the Kabil, I love the Al-Haka, whatever. And I got me a couple of stickers and this beautiful honey and these beautiful rocks. Without 5th lunar mansion, but with some nervous system centering oils. Um, and this is what it is. I really wanted to have another election today. It's not happening unless Uranus will say so. So yes, that is basically what I have to work with. Another way which I can try is when the moon is in Cancer. In the beginning of Cancer, where I can not have. I'm not gonna have fifth lunar mention, but I'm going to definitely have nothing, because because when the moon is in the third decan of Cancer, where I wanted to sextile this bunch, it's going to oppose Pluto. And because I'm working with outer planets, I can say it's not a consideration. It is. So maybe there are some people who disagree with me, and that's okay. Okay, and I would try the talismans as well. Okay, just like, hey, if you're brave enough to do that, go ahead, tell me what it's like, and then I'll try it. But I wouldn't make this one myself. With moon opposing Pluto. Thank you, but no thank you. And so, okay, the next one is going to be with the moon in Scorpio. I do not, if I'm able to, I do not do moon in Scorpio elections. So now there's kind of like the lunar mentions. Okay, so what I have with Cancer, because this is interesting. I'm gonna have moon in like half an hour, so we'll see if I have a good lunar mention talismans. You can log off or you can stay with me, and we are going to look for elections together. So I don't remember which lunar mention is this going to be, but let's see if they have it here. No, because this is okay-ish. I don't like the vertex on Mars, but that can be, and of course I'll remove the ascendant. The ascendant from the ascendant. Get out of the murder degree. Just a couple of minutes, and we got the midheaven on Procyon, but which I like, and I can call on Procyon for this. So still 60 minutes to go. Jupiter day, Jupiter in the 9th house. Yes, co-present with Mars. Day chart, and it's not going to not be visible, but I don't have the midheaven or the ascendant applying, and Venus is in Leo strong. Venus, no, she squares Uranus. I'm not gonna F with that, but it's good to call on Spica, is appropriate to call on Procyon, so I could make a Procyon Spica, and let's see what this lunar mention is. But you have to understand the descendant is with Chiron, retrograde, which means descendant is also with Aries. This is consideration for all Spica talismans. Okay, you're gonna be working with the moon, bringing in and a manifest, especially if you do the conjunction. Okay, which you have to do. I think for most of you have to do, unless you do ascendant or midheaven. It means that you're going to be messing with 22 Chiron in September, and you're going to be manifesting Aries. Again, traditional astrologers don't give a flying fuck about what I just said. It's okay. Okay? It's okay. And I might take the selection. I might do this talisman myself. But if you're working with Aries, you want to understand that those are going to be the energies in the sky. On the other hand, you can get the Spica effect, but they might negate for this Aries, so they might disinclude somebody. This is something that you want to be considering when you are asking for justice. But again, it can also bring the manifestation of Chiron, because it's a position, it's an ouchie, okay? It's not a harmonious aspect to Chiron. I've noticed Chiron, when I did Sol in Aries, I noticed Chiron was very evident and I felt unloved. Mars was in the Philly, Mars was falling in Cancer, but it was not because of Mars, because Mars would just be overreacting emotional. But Chiron made me feel unloved. And I'm like, no, I'm not working with this talisman. That was my very failed solar talisman, not because of a fallen Mars so much as because of a Chiron attached to the moon, which makes me feel moon unloved. Okay, where in Aries you usually have your identity or this or that. Um, okay, Mars can just get overreactive, but the feeling itself came from Chiron, and I did not manifest for Chiron, or I think so. I did not include Chiron, or I don't know. Of course, it heals things and stuff like that. Yes, but you understand. You're working with the Chiron. For Chiron, I want not a conjunction. I want a sextile. I want the trine, and I want him direct. I don't want him to go over this again. Okay, you think about where the planets are going when you make the talisman. So here, that would be on the descendant. And so I like the Procyon, okay, 24 Cancer, colon Procyon, by this midheaven, and I get an answer. I like the Spica, I can call on Spica, and I get an answer. Venus, ruling the ascendant, in a good place, but she's also ruling the 8th house, and Uranus on algol in the 8th house is something to consider. To me, that's something that's a giant that's activating algol, so you have to check that algol is not on minima for this. I think also if you're traditional, there's something giant that's pinpointing, and you're aiming for Venus, which rules that. So yes, you might curate for that, but you also want to take it into consideration for all Venus things. Also Spica. And for lunar mention, this is kind of like a moon, but I still have this Venus to consider. Yes, I don't think I have something on here. If I want a good election that would hold. And then there is Sirius, which I am, but I don't have. That would make Jupiter in the 9th house with Sirius. Yeah, this is another good one because we have kind of like all we need, but this one with Chiron is still the problem. And the moon is already beginning to perfect its orb for Pluto. So this is a consideration. And we have, although harmonious aspect from a retrograde Saturn on a malefic degree. So again, no Cancer, no Luna in Cancer, good elections that I see. Let's go on. To where the moon hits Leo. It will be connecting with Neptune, but it's retrograde, so nothing much here. Sun in the 11th. Okay, this moon I can move. And this is already a new moon in Leo. That's sextile in Mars and sextile in Jupiter. If you're making new moon talismans, you might be interested in that. Okay, you just get the moon out of the oh, ouch. In between Saturn hour and Mars hour. Will you get that moon? Get that moon out of the 11th degree. Get that moon out of the 11th degree. I'll do it in 5 minutes. It's gonna be on the new moon. Because I have to be the 12th degree. Oh god, this is moving slow. Okay, no. Yes. So, and of course it would be a Mars hour, and by the time we're done, the moon is going to release from that. So for me it's Mars hour, with Mars in the 8th house. That's a no-no. Let's move on. Yeah. And here the moon is in a T-square, which of course is not where we want it to be. Moon Virgo with Venus Virgo and Mercury retrograde is not useful for anything now. Not even Al-Qaeda. If you want to capture Lilith in with Ketu, I don't. Okay. This Lilith has been doing things. So yeah, and Venus is detriment. Um, Now let's see about alpaca because Mars. No, can't do alpaca because Mars is in Gemini. Jupiter is also in detriment. So there goes my Sag. Some people will not consider it for lunar mansion talismans, which do as you see fit. And this also rules out the Saturn stuff because Saturn is retrograde. See how quickly that goes, including the Nebalgidi. Now we get Venus on the malefic natures. We don't get kind of like the first stuff. And Jupiter is also ruled out because, wow, Mars and Jupiter in Gemini are simply ruling out all of the talismans that we could make. Pretty much so. Okay, anybody want to make a talisman on the 22nd degree Mars of Gemini? It's like if you want to kill yourself swiftly. Oh my god, people are actually gonna do it. Don't try this at home. And then we get towards our Taurian, get the fuck out of here, Mercury 22 degree. 40 minutes. This is 30 minutes. 40 minutes. Another 30 minutes. It's Venus. It's given Venus. But then again, I got this problem with... I got this problem. I have a problem. Okay, Sun in Virgo. No. Me trying to not give up on this. But the moon is already elsewhere. In Gemini. Between Sedna and my Chiron. And no. That's a no-no in Mercury retrograde. I was really trying to get something in Taurus. Like something in Taurus. Something in Taurus. Anything in Taurus. Fifth lunar mentioned something in Taurus. Okay. Oh, let's see if we move another hour. Exactly, we're going to be on the moon hour. And it's going to be 4 a.m. and 21 minutes on Monday. 26th August. It's not even Monday. It's it's Mercury night. So it doesn't seem to work the way I wanted to. And there's a Mercury retrograde here. And the sun is in Virgo, which is okay. I mean, it's not fallen, but... And Jupiter is malefic. Jupiter is poisonous. Venus in Virgo. There's nothing here. I know Krasiatas is doing a soul talisman. I might be tempted if I don't know. I think today was good soul election, but I don't know. So let's go for the current planets. Thanks God I made my talismans, because it seems like this is what I have from this election. I don't get fifth lunar mention as I wanted, but I get this interesting work that's going to set itself for a while, and I'm going to just allow it take its time, and put my snack in freezer. So I hope you enjoyed this time with me. I really thought I was making this huge, big oil packet talismans, and it's gonna get oily and buttery and stuff like that, but it's like not that I know. But I'm very, very happy with what I did make. And this is no essential oil blends or any stuff like that. Um, so if some of you have been kind of like waiting for that, I know I felt a lot of energies or certain energies that have a desire regarding of what the previous uranus algol fifth lunar mentioned that they made. This means I'm going to need to have this as kind of like a base where I dilute it, and again, I'm not going to open it now. I think it's not appropriate time to open this yet. Not in Saturn hour, it's going to be Jupiter hour soon. Am I gonna? No, because this is with Mars. I'm not going to open it yet. I'm not going to use it yet. So you're gonna have to stay curious, and we'll have to test it to see what it does, what it doesn't do. There's a lot of energy in what my previous month election, okay, fifth lunar mention, moon in Taurus, uranus algol, okay, all of this packed together, growing moon, algol, not yet on the minima, so that was a shielding algol. I really needed to see what this talisman does before I say anything. And I know that some people is kind of like, no, I don't want the small oil, I want the body cream, I wanted this, I wanted that. Wait, let me see what it does first, okay? It's talismanic, it's not just body oil. So I have to see what it does myself. I like the bitter orange scent that I have here. It's smelling very good. It's a simple oil, very easy to use, very easy to purchase, and it smells so good. Yeah. So this means I have the day to myself pretty much. So I evacuated all this day. All of this day to myself. I fell in love with the gummy sweets of IKEA. You want to go to IKEA with me? Okay. Luna. Oh my god, I just love the scent of that bitter orange. It's so fresh. It smells from the bitter orange. It's funny because I put rose, which is amazing, and then I just put I don't even know what, maybe one drop fell outside, and it smells so good. Bitter orange. So that's it. That's what I have to say to you. Hope you like my little talismanic work. I'm going to release this video now with the Jupiter hour and the midheaven next to Mars, so you can get a lot to argue about. And that's it.